The ocean is usually described as the beginning of trade. Across human history, civilizations rose beside water, not just because water sustains life, but because it carries commerce, power, and possibility. In modern economics, maritime access is not merely infrastructure, it is strategy. For Southeast Nigeria, the question of a seaport is not just about ships docking, it is about economic independence, political negotiation, and historical memory. This is a story of ambition and delay, of geography and power, of promise and politics, and of a region that has watched the ocean from afar while others built gateways into global trade. To understand the politics behind a seaport in Igbo land, we must start from history. During the colonial period in what is now the country called Nigeria, maritime development followed a pattern shaped largely by British economic interests. Ports were built simply where people lived. They were built where colonial trade networks were easiest to control. The early maritime infrastructure of southern Nigeria was concentrated around the coastal regions that later became part of river states and surrounding coastal territories. The logic was simple: export raw materials out, import manufactured goods in, and maintain administrative and commercial efficiency. Inland commercial cities, including those in what is now the Southeast Geopolitical Zone, were connected to the maritime economy through river transport rather than direct ocean access. The legacy of that colonial economic structure still echoes in modern development debates. After Nigeria gained independence, the dream of expanding maritime access into the southeast became part of broader regional economic planning discussions. One of the most symbolic locations often mentioned in these conversations is the historic commercial city of Onitsha. Onitsha sits along the Niger River. For decades, it functioned as one of West Africa's largest inland commercial markets. Traders moved goods from coastal ports upstream into the heart of the Igbo trading network. But river port activity is not the same as deep sea maritime infrastructure. The difference lies in scale, global connectivity, and strategic economic leverage. The political conversation about a seaport in Igbo land intensified during the post-Civil War reconstruction era. The Nigerian Civil War left deep economic and political scars across the southeast. Reintegration policies became central to national unity discussions under successive federal governments. Many regional leaders argued that economic rehabilitation required structural investment in transportation and trade access. Supporters of the Seaport project often pointed to the economic philosophy of industrial autonomy. If a region can directly export and import goods, they argued, it reduces logistical dependence on other coastal corridors. Critics, however, raised geographical and financial concerns. The southeast region of Nigeria is largely inland. Building a deep seaport requires extensive dredging, coastal engineering, and long-term environmental management. Government planners often emphasized cost efficiency. Why build new maritime infrastructure when existing ports were already operational? These debates became deeply political because infrastructure decisions are rarely purely technical. They intersect with regional influence, national resource allocation, and electoral bargaining. During the late 20th century, Nigerian maritime development focused heavily on expanding existing coastal ports rather than creating new ones inland. The Federal Maritime Authority, under different administrative regimes, prioritized upgrading established hubs. Economic policymakers often argued that concentration of maritime trade in fewer high-capacity ports increases operational efficiency. Yet, for many people in Southeast Nigeria, the issue was not only economics, it was representation. Some political actors in the region believed that the absence of a major seaport limited long-term industrial competitiveness. The logic was straightforward. Modern manufacturing depends on supply chains. Supply chains depend on logistics, and logistics often depend on maritime gateways. Without a seaport, export-oriented industries must bear higher transportation costs, moving goods from inland production zones to coastal ports. The debate resurfaced strongly in the 21st century. Advocacy groups began pushing for projects such as the proposed seaport near the coastal areas associated with the region. One of the frequently mentioned areas, or rather ideas, was development of a modern deep seaport that could serve industrial zones across southeast Nigeria. Supporters argued that such infrastructure could transform the economic future of states like Anambra State and Abia State, which were known for commercial and manufacturing activities. The argument was not just about shipping, it was about creating a maritime ecosystem. The successful seaport would ideally generate ancillary industries, ship maintenance, logistics companies, custom services, warehousing networks, financial service hubs, employment opportunities, but infrastructure projects of this scale are rarely free from political tension. Some critics questioned whether the demand for a new seaport was primarily economic or symbolic. Nigeria's federal structure means that major infrastructure projects usually require approval and funding coordination from the central government. The political relationship between regional government and the federal government of Nigeria has therefore been a central factor in the port debate. Historical leadership figures also shaped the narrative. During the post-independence era, nationalist intellectuals such as Nnamdi Azikiwe advocated economic modernization across the country. Although Azikiwe's political philosophy emphasized national unity, many later regional advocates interpreted modernization as including balanced infrastructure developments. Yet, development in Nigeria has often followed what economists call spatial concentration patterns. Ports, oil infrastructure, and major transport corridors tend to cluster in already developed regions. This pattern can create what some scholars describe as regional economic inertia. Once an area becomes dominant in trade infrastructure, it attracts more investment strengthens dominance, and the circle continues. The Southeast Seaport debate, therefore, sits at the intersection of development economics and political geography. Another layer of complexity involves environmental and coastal engineering challenges. The Nigerian coastline experiences sedimentation patterns influenced by river discharge systems from the Niger Delta region. Building a deep water port requires continuous dredging to maintain navigable channels. Maintenance cost is often as important as construction costs. Some feasibility studies have suggested that the economic return of a new port depends on projected trade volume. If cargo traffic does not reach certain threshold, the project may become financially unsustainable. This technical reality has been used by government planners to justify caution, but regional political leaders counter that infrastructure itself creates economic activity. This argument follows a development theory that large transport projects can stimulate industrial clusters. The political conversation is also influenced by competition between different coastal regions. Nigeria already operates major maritime hubs in the southwest and Niger Delta regions. Adding another major port introduces questions about cargo distribution, customs administration, and shipping route optimization. There have been proposals for private-public partnership models. Such models would allow private investors to participate in financing and operating maritime facilities. International development agencies have also been mentioned in policy discussions. Although large-scale funding commitments remain uncertain, public sentiment in southeast Nigeria often reflects generational economic anxiety. Younger populations worry about employment opportunities, business communities focus on trade competitiveness, industrial entrepreneurs think about export logistics, and political actors view the port debate through electoral and regional negotiation lenses. The story of the seaport in Igbo land is therefore not simply a story of infrastructure. It is a story about how nations distribute economic power. It is about how geography shapes destiny and how politics sometimes moves slower than commerce demands. As of today, the dream of a major deep sea port serving southeast Nigeria remains unresolved. Some projects have been proposed, some feasibility studies conducted, some political promises made, but the ocean continues its quiet movement along the coast, waiting. Trade ships continue docking at existing maritime gateways. Goods continue moving through long transportation corridors, and the debate continues in policy rooms, markets, academic circles, and political campaigns. Perhaps the real question is not only whether a seaport will be built, but when, and under what political and economic conditions. Because infrastructure is really just concrete and steel. Infrastructure is power, and power is always negotiated. The future of maritime development in southeast Nigeria will likely depend on a combination of political will, economic feasibility, technological engineering, and regional cooperation. Whether the next generation will see a functioning deep sea port serving the Igbo commercial heartland remains one of West Africa's most interesting development questions. And history, as always, is still writing the answer.